World of Warcraft began in 2004 and changed the MMORPG genre forever, as millions of players forged their own destiny and set off on a grand adventure that would change their lives. From the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor to the alien Outland, the icy plains of Northrend, and beyond. A lot of players have fallen out of love with World of Warcraft, and that could be for a host of reasons. Whether it is due to poor storytelling, the game becoming too linear, too optimized, bloated, or too easy. Some players believe there's just no fun to be had anymore, or that the sense of adventure and wonder that captivated players for so long just doesn't exist anymore. We've gone from being these brand new adventurers to achieving titles such as the High Lord, Azeroth's Champion, Moorwalker, and so on. From recent videos I've put out, players seem very much against the idea of this main character syndrome that now exists in World of Warcraft, and just want to go back to the good old days. I want to ask you a question though. What has changed more? The game? Or you? There may be many of you watching who started World of Warcraft on release like me. I would have been about 13 or 14 years old, and of course, I was hooked. I was immersed in this incredible world, and it was all I thought about. Morning, noon, and night. I just wanted to explore and live in this game. I could lament these days gone by, but I want to get right to the point on why players look back on WoW so fondly, but also why they struggle with it in recent times.
Industry expectations,
and you can apply this to classic and retail. You'll likely hear people say that World of Warcraft was better in the old days, and it's an opinion I think many would agree with. It's important to cast our minds back to World of Warcraft on its release. The belief is, back in the day, MMOs were more enjoyable than they are now. They were more fun, they were more social, they were made with love, and they were authentic. It's a very popular opinion. There's something amusing, yet bizarre, that older gamers would chastise a newer audience for enjoying modern WoW, for instance, because it's simply not possible to be on the levels of the good old stuff. A lot of people will argue that World of Warcraft is too easy and has been dumbed down. Players say World of...
I do not agree with that at all, dude. I'm gonna say it, chat. I've been playing Cataclysm, and this shit is... simple. It is very simple. Like, boringly simple. Like, my Warlock presses 2 buttons simple. Like, it's... I like fall asleep doing dungeons because it is so slow. And like, there's some areas of dungeons that there's just like nothing in. There's like no enemies to fight. It's like, what are we even doing here? Like, I don't know, bro. I'm struggling to get to max level just because I want to play with my friends. And, I don't know, dude. It's just like so... I don't know. I'm also playing Warlock, which is like, maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know. I'm playing demo.
Warcraft has lost its way and is nothing like it used to be. The talent changes, the pruning, the lack of class identity, Mythic Plus, Mythic Raiding...
Matthew Watson from YouTube said, "Hey Pyro, I have a mini theory I'll dumb down real quick. I find Yasharaj and Eluna here are too similar. Is it possible instead that the 2 stories of Aman'Thul ripping them out are the same story? Yes. Yes, it is. And there is a tremendous amount of evidence to support that idea, Matthew. So yeah, I agree with your mini theory. Wholly. I think that Elunahir and Yasharaj are... And what I mean is, what if Yasharaj is Elunahir? Yes. Yeah. I think that the similarities between the stories are uncanny. And so I do think that the suggestion is that they're the same entity. Yeah. So we'll see.
BDKPs, flying mounts, you name it. Everybody watching this video will have qualms with the game and feel something has damaged the game irreparably for them. However, I don't believe any of these changes have anything to do with why you stopped having as much fun with World of Warcraft. Remember the question I asked you, what has changed more, the game or you? There are 2 factors I believe in why you aren't having as much fun anymore, and the first one is lifestyle. Think about how much your life has changed. You might already be thinking I'm wrong, but I implore you to stay until the end of this video all the same, and if you still disagree with me...
Yeah, what's really sad is there's a shitload of people who would immediately click off when he says this. Because people will often just outright reject having to be introspective. To have to actually look at and analyze themselves, people are very resistant to, it seems. So you will get a lot of people, unfortunately, who clicked off right here. Who are like, nope, I didn't change. No chance, you know?
How many of you remember the good old days? The thrill or the rush of finishing high school, rushing home, you throw your bag on the floor, you grab your favourite snack, you boot your PC up, you log into the game, and just sit down with your guildmates and your friends from school.
Well, except that second part. No, not friends from school. But yeah, guildmates. Yeah, I remember I would go to track practice, and then I would leave half an hour early because I had to make it to raid time. I didn't want to be late for raid, so I left my track practice early.
Maybe you were planning a big Strathholm run or Blackrock Depths earlier in the day, and now it was time for that adventure to begin. Or how about those late nights gaming, when you stayed up raiding long after you should have been asleep, trying to make as less noise as possible so you didn't wake your parents up? Maybe you had a really crappy week at work, but then it's Friday night and you're about to raid with some of your work buddies and have a few beers. It's an overdose of nostalgia just thinking.
It is, bro. I miss raiding. I miss my raid group. I miss my guild. I miss having that camaraderie. I miss getting together for a group to accomplish a goal consistently. I miss it a lot, dude. Honestly. It's one of the things I miss from WoW the most. Just like the guild stuff, and I don't know why I don't do that anymore. Well, I do know why. It's because now that I'm older, I don't have time to raid. I mean, I could probably, but I don't want to do raid on stream.
And I've shared these exact same feelings. And this is important to the lifestyle side of things.
Even black holes die to
entropy.
entropy.
It's undoubtedly great, and it's a huge part of mine, and I'm sure your life.
True, Brian.
But it wasn't the game alone that made you look back on these times so fondly. It's a combination of your lifestyle. There are factors that need to be taken into account. Your age, you were younger, and you had a lot more free time and could easily put in 10 to 12 hours a day.
True.
You likely had a bigger friendship circle with friends from school. Maybe you didn't have bills to pay. Maybe you didn't have children. You had less responsibilities and a lot more time. The game was all about connections, and that is essentially what defined your experience. The game was tailor-made for your lifestyle. The game needed your time and dedication, which was okay because you had the hours to spare. The game required teamwork, which was fine because you probably had friends from school to play with. As you get older, you have more responsibilities. You start to work full-time and potentially long hours, in turn making your free time shorter. Maybe you start a family. Friendship groups have a tendency to drift apart, and real life finally becomes more important than the MMO. And this is where the aforementioned teamwork, dedication, and free time takes a back seat.
And I think this happened to people like Asmongold too. Just gonna say it. I think like McConnell playing less, S-Fan going and doing GTRP and playing less, like his friends are around less, he doesn't play as much. What do you expect is gonna happen? You know? And that's not the whole reason. But this is true, man. You know, listen to those stories that he tells about his friends from back in the day where he used to do all sorts of degen shit with them on WoW, and he tells those stories all the time, you know what I'm saying? But he doesn't have those anymore. So Asmon, I think, is an example, right, of someone who has a very clear memory of what they loved, and it doesn't appear that he's experiencing that anymore. So, I mean, how could you enjoy WoW the same? How could you, when half of what made it great in the first place was our friends? Or even our parents. Yeah, and that's tough, dude. It's gotta be hard to lose your mom. I'm still lucky I have my mom. My dad passed away, but I think it's gonna crush me to a different level when my mom, you know, passes away. So I can empathize with that. That's very hard. And maybe to a degree, it reminds him of that, and maybe that hurts. You know, I'm not trying to say that that's what's true. I'm just, you never know, right? I mean, he's a human being who has emotions, whether he shows them to you or not. And so, yeah, not to make it all about Asmon, but yeah, I think that this concept is true. You know, the only reason at all why I'm playing Cataclysm Classic is because my friends are playing it. That's the only reason. The only reason at all. And so without that, I mean, I just wouldn't play it.
The most common complaint is that World of Warcraft doesn't respect your time anymore. And whilst that may have been true in the recent past, we also don't have as much time as we used to. Classic World of Warcraft may potentially blind this approach, because it's filled with all the experiences I've talked about. If you spent your teens playing World of Warcraft, then playing Classic is going to fuel that nostalgia. You'll have memories of friendship, your first raid kill, seeing Ragnaros for the first time, just remembering the world back then, staying up late at night. This enhances Classic WoW because of how strong nostalgia is. The game wasn't the most important part of the experience. It was about how the game existed at the same time your life could meet the commitments. This brings me on to the second factor that I believe why players aren't having as much fun anymore.
First all-nighter I ever had was the night I installed StarCraft. You guys want to know the truth, man? I can't even pull an all-nighter anymore. I can't. I don't even have it in me. So, like, even in that aspect, the way that I engage with games is completely different.
This brings me on to the second factor that I believe why players aren't having as much fun anymore, and that is mindset. Why is World of Warcraft fun?
Why is World of Warcraft fun, is what he's about to ask.
Fun is obviously subjective. How do you have fun in World of Warcraft? Is it the progression? Is it pet battles? Is it farming Raider IO score? Is it pumping the big numbers? What is fun to you?
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of did have a little bit of fun getting my Raider IO score to 2,500. Okay, I kind of did have fun. I'm just gonna say it. I kind of enjoyed that. But then when I got to 2,500, I was like, do I really want to do plus 15s across the board so I can get 3K? I don't think I do.
Fun could be something as simple as exploring somewhere.
F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for no survival when you...
Is it farming Raider IO score? Is it pumping the big numbers? What is fun to you?
It's fire that
Fun could
burns
be
down the
something
whole
as
town.
simple as
And you for uranium. Bombs.
exploring somewhere new for the first time, engaging in open world PvP, or maybe even fishing. It can be whatever you want it to be. There is no right or wrong answer here. These days, most people care and prioritize Mythic Plus rating, item level, DPS, new content, and the meta.
Over optimization.
That doesn't mean the other stuff or the things that you love don't exist anymore.
It just means you're not prioritizing them anymore. Isn't that funny how that works?
World of Warcraft players have conformed to this behavior of wanting to be the best, and that exists in both classic and retail.
Fucking
It's
A, it
absolutely
does.
fine to have this thought process and desire to be the best, but it shouldn't blind players to think that World of Warcraft has lost its magic. Blizzard have instilled a gotta go fast philosophy, and it's simply how some people choose to play the game now. But it's important to remember that this isn't mandatory. It's often discussed how people want Mythic raiding to be abolished because of all the stress that comes with it.
Abolished? Yo, people that say Mythic rating needs to be abolished are fucking morons. Could it be easier? Yeah. And would 10-man Mythic be very welcome? Yes. But to abolish it entirely? Shut up.
Compositions to the
It's
time
like,
required
deleting ultimates out of Final Fantasy. Like, shut the fuck up.
to the admin. And we could go back to lifestyle with this. Would you have been a Mythic Raider if you were playing in high school? I would wager you probably would. The community has cultivated a desire to be the
If Mythic rating stresses you out, here's a hint. Don't do it.
best and play the best race, class, spec, and everything else that comes with it. And that's something that Blizzard have.
But as a result, I might not get the exclusive reward for doing it. Well, that's not okay. See, that's the problem. That's the problem.
Acquire the best gear and be the strongest they can be. But you are in control of this and your goals.
Yep.
If you have a desire to be the best, then time, commitment, and dedication will be required of you.
And what he talked about there is so important. It's about your desire. This is so funny because to live is to desire. And to desire is to suffer, some would say. You have to... you gotta be careful about tempering your desires. Let me put it this way. Desiring something can be good. It can lead you to be motivated to do something. It can also make you act, not make you, but it can kind of lead to you acting terribly. Sometimes people desire something so much that they suffer from it, or they extend suffering to other people because they don't have it. Life is suffering, dukkha, a Buddhist concept. That's why I said it. Yep. To live is to desire, right? And I think that a lot of Buddhist belief is to find a detachment from desire. And if you desire to not desire, guess what? You're desiring something. So the idea is to find a detachment from things that are, in ways, kind of maybe superficial or don't matter that much, like a mythic mount from World of Warcraft. Is it serious, Doctor? It ain't that serious. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's just not. It's not that serious. And so that's the thing, right? Is like, if you can't temper your desires, then they will eat you alive. And in many ways, I think desire is one of the driving forces behind someone like Eonar, behind someone like Elune. They desire a certain thing to happen. They desire to keep living. They desire to whatever, right? And that's what drives life. To live is to desire.
You have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? The game will feel like a second job for as long as you keep making it feel that way. I'm personally of the belief that hyper-competitiveness is making WoW worse.
Yep.
The game is...
Yep. And I think that I like the analysis in that video that we watched that one time about how streaming and media-based income is part of why that's happening. Because the perception is that if you're good enough, you can stream it, you can make videos, and you'll make money. That's where a lot of these people go with it. That's where a lot of it goes. I want to be the best so I can have a stream like Peekaboo. I think, and this is just my opinion, but I think in a lot of ways, video gaming has only been socially justified because of the monetary gain. Am I wrong? I feel like in many ways, video games have become socially accepted more because normies figured out how much money you could make from it. And that is one of the main driving reasons why people are even accepting of it, is because it can make money. If it couldn't, it wouldn't even be considered useful. People would disregard it. But it's when people like Ninja happened and started bringing in nut job fucking paychecks that people realized how much money can be there. And I feel like since then, there's been a massive shift towards performance. How do I become the best? How do I stream and get popular? How do I make these videos? And let me tell you something, man. I would be willing to bet you that most of the successful streamers and YouTubers did not originally get into it because they were after money. They did it because they were either bored, feeling creative, maybe wanted to help people with a guide or a tutorial. They were some cringe little kid with a fucking $10 mic trying to tell people how to kill Dagonoths. It's like, I didn't start making videos before because I was making money. When you first start, you're not making anything. You don't make anything. So I really do think that there is a correlation between performance-driven gameplay and streaming and income, at least a little bit of a crossover. And I do think that the shift in gaming culture, a lot of it has to do with the recognition of how much monetary gain can happen from it. And I believe truly that if that were not the case, that it would not be as socially accepted as it has become. I think money is a big reason why people are into it. It's the same reason why people disregard art, because a lot of people don't see the monetary value.
It's become clear to Blizzard that basing Mythic Plus around a timer is just not good gameplay design. And this whole idea of just rushing and consuming the content as quickly as possible just feels like a real shame.
Yeah.
But again, I must stress, this is mindset.
All of my most enjoyable moments and some of the best moments on stream ever is when we're just going slow and taking our time and really soaking it all in.
Sadly become the norm. I would never tell anybody to play the game a certain way,
yeah,
but it feels that the game has become so optimized to the point that Blizzard have now optimized the fun out of it for a lot of players. The game isn't fun for a lot of players now because we're older, wiser, and know more about the game. The collective meta-knowledge of the game has reached its conclusion as soon as the patch drops. You can learn everything you need to know within a few clicks, and that sense of discovery is withered for a lot of players.
Yeah, honestly, it's why I think that they should just drop data mining. I think they shouldn't even allow it at all anymore. And I don't give a fuck if that hurts Wowhead. I don't really give a shit. I think they should cut data mining all the way out. I know that that's a hot take, chat, but I don't like it at all. I think it needs to go. Forever. I think that alpha and beta is one thing. Data mining is another, dude. I just think that it's bad for the game. I really do. Final Fantasy XIV doesn't allow it, and people are way more hype for things as they release, getting to actually experience them. Here's the problem. How many movies have you not gone and seen because someone told you beforehand that it sucked? How many shows have you not watched because someone told you it sucked? I think that WoW and data mining does the same thing. People see the data mining, they develop preconceived notions, they can get these ideas that things suck before they've ever even tried them. And so that's, someone said earlier, oh, that's why I like beta. I can decide if I'm going to play the game before it even releases. Okay, that's not what beta's for, but if that's how you decide, then cool. I think you should play the actual fucking game and then, go from there. Personally, not that playing beta has no value, but it's like, you know, I hate data mining, dude. I fucking hate it. I used to like it a lot, and I used to make a ton of videos off of data mined content, and then I realized how much I hated it. So we don't do it anymore.
Main focus has become the
You get a lot of people who just watch cinematics or read quest text with absolutely no context. Yep, and it ruins the whole fucking thing. Ironically, that's why I never played MOT, because people told me it was bad. Turns out they were wrong, and I was wrong for listening. And isn't that a shame, how we do that? And that's, you know, that's kind of the power to a degree that Asmongold has, right? He has that power of influence where if he says something sucks enough, people will just believe him. And they won't even play the game. They don't have to. Asmongold said it sucked. Why would I play it? Right? I saw the data mining. It looks like shit. And then they say the game's story sucks, which they have no idea about because they weren't actually paying any attention.
My memories of TBC are so incredibly pure that if I went back to it now, yes, I would get warm fuzzy feelings of nostalgia and days gone by. But I would also be a lot more cynical and critical of my experiences, and I would poke holes in TBC because of my mindset with the modern game. And that is a problem with me, and by me, I potentially mean you too if this is how you process the game. There is a lot more research on World of Warcraft now than there was back in the day.
Yeah.
And people are constantly obsessing over the meta, buffs, nerfs, patches and so on. You won't ever have the same experience for a myriad of reasons. You're older, your goals have changed, you're more educated in the game now. You've seen all of this stuff before. The zones, the dungeons, the raids. It's not that World of Warcraft isn't full of adventure or magic anymore.
You just know all
You're
of it.
simply unmoved by it now.
Yeah.
And this is not the fault of the game.
Nope.
The reason you don't take the world in like you used to is because you're now looking at the game through a different lens. Your perception of the game is deteriorated due to repetition. Players don't want to run a dungeon now because they want to explore it and feel like they're going on an adventure. They want to run it because of the loot drops they're going to potentially receive. The ethos and philosophy of most players now is, I just want to get this done, the faster the better, and then I can move on to the next thing. Most players...
And part of that is because Blizzard has put systems in the game which reward that kind of behavior, like Mythic Plus, right? Which they've recognized, it sounds like. But a lot of that is due to the way, if you push people to behave a certain way, you can't act surprised when they behave a certain way.
Players are chasing battle pass or seasonal trends, and this dilutes an essence of the game in ways to attempt to monetize it further. You can still have fun and explore the dungeons the way you used to, but your focus has now shifted. Expectations are different, and most content is a means to an end now. It doesn't help when a mainstay system like Mythic Plus was all about beating a dungeon as quickly as possible. It sets the tone for a lot of players that this is how you should play the game. I feel the majority of the community and Blizzard are now looking through the same lens, and that's all about incentives, and primarily gear. Everything is about the rewards now, rather than the gameplay. And this just isn't how everybody's going to get their fix. To expand on this a little, I'm talking about the way Blizzard implement content. For example, the potential with Torghast was incredible, but Blizzard were likely concerned that engagement wouldn't be up to their standards, so it essentially became the gatekeeper for the Shadowlands legendaries,
which is exactly the opposite of what it should have been. Torghast was initially good because it wasn't forced. You wanted to play it because the gameplay was fun. But instead, they made you play it. Even if you didn't want to. And when you force people to do things they don't want to do... Also, when the player feedback from beta is that the broken abilities and crazy power level is really fun, you shouldn't take that away. They just sucked the fun out of it. Torghast did exactly what it as a building is designed to do. Suck the hope out of you. And fucking leave you with nothing but despair. And that's what it did.
Which forced players to engage with it. And this was a method they also used during BFA, with the likes of Island Expeditions, Warfronts, and
Again, Island Expeditions. Had to do them. Fucking hated them.
Became the gate.
Had to do them. But if I didn't have to do it, and I didn't spend my time doing them, when I was free from the things that I was doing, maybe I would have went, I'm gonna go run some islands. There's some mounts that drop from there. I kind of want to see if I can get those. Not because I need to farm Azerite power because I'm behind and my guild requires level 50 Azerite power before I go into the raid tier. No, that's fucking lame. Lame! No one wants to be forced to do shit. Fucking lame. Make it fun and interesting to engage with, and people will engage with it. But when you force them to engage with something they don't want to, they'll fucking quit. And that's what happened.
Gatekeeper for the Shadowlands legendaries, which
It's just like the Maw, where you couldn't mount, or you couldn't fly, you couldn't do. You felt so restricted. They slowed the gameplay so fucking down. They slowed it down so. I fucking hate the Maw. I hate it with every fiber of my fucking being. I hate the Maw.
Players to engage with it.
It's awful.
And this was a method they
and
also...
you still can't fly there. You still can't mount when you first go there. What are we doing? Half of the events in the zone are spread so far across the zones that if you start on one side and an event pops, you will not make it to the event. You can't. Let me fucking fly there, dude. Give me something. I mean, they did make it feel like hell. Thematically, it's supposed to feel like hell, not gameplay-wise.
Used during BFA, with the likes of island expeditions, war fronts, and horrific visions. It stopped being about things you might be excited
what we went through. I know, it shouldn't...
is to engage with it. And this was a method they also used during BFA, with the likes of island expeditions, war fronts, and horrific visions. It stopped being about things you might be excited for or interested in, and you were forced to engage with it. Otherwise, you'd be missing features of that expansion. And when something like this is so forced, it doesn't matter how good or bad the gameplay is, because you're going to do it anyway. The gameplay comes second at this point, and this allows Blizzard to be complacent and provide a disappointing or unfinished product, because they have your attention either way with this philosophy. I would say the original reward was simply playing the game. Again, I must stress,
because it was
how
fun.
you choose to play World of Warcraft is entirely up to you, and fun is subjective. We all get our kicks in different ways, and that's great. This video is designed to be thought-provoking and make you think about reasons you may have stopped enjoying World of Warcraft. I'm not telling you this as a matter of fact. Sometimes you have to stop and just appreciate the game for what it is. On the face of it, the game is a process and a time sink. There is no end, and whilst there is pressure of looming patches and expansions around the corner, sometimes you have to just stop and smell the flowers, because before you know it, they'll be gone. Season of Discovery is fun. It ticks all the boxes of nostalgia with the old classes, the old zones, and everything you remember about Classic, but also provides new experiences with raids and fights never seen before, along with new quests and rewards. Players yearn for adventure and discovery again in World of Warcraft, and this is the Season of Discovery. But it's not much of a discovery when everybody just goes to Wowhead to find out where the runes are so they can get what...
Yup. It's so good, and I use Wowhead all the time, but it's also so bad.
they need as fast as possible and be done with it. Season of Discovery was also about making classes and specializations feel like they have a place
if they don't do it, someone else is going to do it.
Game 2 this time, as well as some new interesting combinations. Ret Paladin can finally get in on the action, as well as tanking shamans and healing mages. However, I feel a lot of these specializations or builds won't really get an opportunity, unless they're performing really well, or you're playing with like-minded individuals who just want to enjoy the game casually. Because the goals now are about having the right buffs, and what will get you the quickest kill times. And of course,
bro, I got kicked from Vortex Pinnacle because I was not paying attention and died to the final boss's lightning triangle. They kicked me out of the dungeon before the boss was dead, and I didn't get completion for my quest or any loot because they vote kicked me because I died.
The elitism that spawned from retail, which has infected Classic, is such a shame in my opinion, because Classic was never supposed to be like this. Classic was supposed to be a time portal, a gateway to the past, a way for you to go back and recapture your memories and remember the way things used to be. And whilst that is possible, and you may still get those warm feelings of getting drive-by buffed while you're questing in the open world, it's not the game that has changed, but the community and the...
Yep. And it's someone in our Discord was having a fucking meltdown the other day about Classic and about how what we got is not really true to Classic, and that these kind of nostalgic Classic Andys have basically like ruined what Classic was even supposed to be. And so he was wanting me to like publicly speak on his behalf and go after these Classic tryhard Andys, which I'm not gonna fucking do because I don't give a fuck. And but hearing this guy say it, it's, you know, it's fucking probably true. I mean, how would I know? I didn't play in vanilla, but you know what we're seeing here. I mean,
be the quickest kill.
I won't say that the guy was wrong. It was just how he handled it when people didn't agree with him, because people are going to disagree. But it didn't go very well. But you know, it's very recent. Someone was saying this shit to me. You know, saying this type of thing or expressing it. And he's bent out of shape because Classic is not what he thought it was going to be. And I hate to say this, but like, yeah, some of us told you so. Like we told you so. Like it was obvious that it wasn't going to be the same. Like it's obvious. And I'm not even someone who played vanilla. It's just obvious. It's not going to be the same. Of course it isn't.
Kill times. And of course, not
if it was
everybody
true Classic, they would have had to buy a disc reader to install the game true.
Of course, we had add-ons in the past, such as Gear Score, but we're now at a stage where you're able to pay for an add-on to view character
Told you so
passes.
about the token.
Also,
yeah, that's a problem too. Archon has just released an early access version of their latest tooltip add-on for Season of Discovery. This add-on will allow all players to view character parses, all-star points, and world rank in-game. Just another way to gate people out of your group. To gatekeep people out of your group. That's all this is, bro. All this is a system of approval. That's all it is, man. You gotta prove to me before you ever even play with me that you're good enough to join my group. It's so fucking toxic, dude. I can't stand it. It's a paid add-on? What? There's no way. That shouldn't even be allowed. You have to pay? How are they even allowed to charge for it? Zygor is against TOS, but there are streamers sponsored by it? It's not allowed? What? I don't like that he blames retail elitism when the world first Classic Molten Core Clear from 2019 Classic was done by apes, a collective group of people that some have played vanilla private servers for years before Classic. Yeah, I don't know if I agree that the elitism comes from retail. I think retail has similar issues, but I don't know about the sentiment that it comes from it. I think that they're related, and I think the bleed over between Classic and retail communities more than what people think. I think people really like to imagine that people that play Classic only play on Classic, and that's not fucking true. Some people are like that, yes, but not everyone's like that. Zygor trying to go after people pirating their add-on is the funniest shit. It's like you're breaking the game's bro. I'm sorry. That's like, so you're using someone else's API to design a compatible add-on that you charge for. That's gotta be like illegal, right? That's gotta be like IP theft or something. Like what? Or it's just breaking the TOS or something. I don't know what, like that can't be legal.
And world ranks in-game. I feel the barrier to entry for World of Warcraft is crazy as it is, from understanding the narrative to your passes. It's harmful for casual and inexperienced players.
Yeah.
Not being invited to public raids because your passes aren't good enough is the equivalent of not being able to get an entry-level job because you don't have enough work experience.
Yup, I need a job. No, you don't have experience, but I need to work to get experience. Then work. That's why I'm here. Give me a job. You have no experience. How am I supposed to get experience? Work! Yeah, that's how it feels, man. That's how it feels. And if you don't have an IO score, you don't get invited to keys. You just can never... Nobody... Here's the problem. Here's the problem. With all these add-ons and optimization, people are never given the benefit of the doubt anymore. That's the problem. No one gets the benefit of the doubt. I can't just trust the possibility that you're a good player. You have to prove it to me before you join my group. Like, what? What is that? you realize that this player could be better than you. But because he doesn't have a number next to his name, because he hasn't played this season, he's bad? I hate it, dude. I hate that shit. I hate that shit. Isn't there an add-on that lets you blatantly lie about your Raider IO, etc.? Because that'd be the funniest add-on. It could be. Could be.
A lot of players are campaigning for 10-man Mythic to be introduced.
This sort of thing exists in real life, by the way. Systemic racism, brilliant people living in poverty who are never given the advantages they need to succeed. It's a rich get richer and the poor get poorer sort of thing. Yep. And guess, look at what that first argument was, Jay. Logs have been a thing for a long time. Standard and predictable. It's just how we've always done it, which benefits you, so I'm sure you have no issue with it, do you? But if you're the person who has suffered as a result of that, your opinion might be different, wouldn't it?
Or a return to the style of Cataclysm and Mr.
It's been around
Pandaria.
forever, why change it? It's benefited me through my whole life, why change it? So fucking selfish.
Campaigning for 10-man Mythic to be introduced, or a return to the style of Cataclysm and Mr. Pandaria, purely because they aren't interested in optimization and just want to play in a tight-knit group with their friends. But these players are currently in limbo. They feel that Heroic is too easy and Mythic is far too difficult for reasons I mentioned earlier. Think about the time requirements.
Mythic
the
is
admin,
extremely
the
difficult.
raid compositions, the add-ons, the tuning. The barrier to entry for Mythic is high, and to raid Mythic requires
But privilege
huge
doesn't
sacrifice.
exist, Nodders. Yeah. I don't know how we can get rid of it, though. It's not an excuse to not try. See, that's the thing. Not having an answer doesn't mean it's not possible. It's good that you can admit that you don't know how to solve it, but we're not asking you to solve it. It's not our job. This is Blizzard's job, to be honest, for the most part. But not knowing what the answer is doesn't mean you shouldn't look for it.
There's nothing worse than progressing.
Sometimes things are hard. Sometimes they take effort. You know, sometimes they take time. You know?
There are currently 4 raiding difficulties in World of Warcraft.
Just too
Looking
many.
for raid, normal, heroic, and mythic.
It's so unnecessary.
It just seems a bit ridiculous at this point.
Yeah.
It's excessive and should have been addressed a long time ago.
Yep.
I don't want to get into this too much though, as I plan to release
Totally
a video
fucking agree.
talking about this in more detail.
And now they're gonna introduce story as well. It's too much, dude. Normal, heroic. Done. Whoa. Crazy. It's almost like we are coming to the conclusion that what we had before might have actually been better. Whoa.
I just think it's important to mention that some players really loved the older raid style when heroic was considered the hardest content.
Yep.
And mythic is only catering.
And look at that 10-man raid group that he's got there. Whoa. Are you telling me there was a hey, Verdicia's in this group? Is this Paragon? It's Frag, Lappy. Devi. Normal heroic, so you're advocating for getting rid of mythics? I just think we should go back to the difficulties that we had before. I just think that if they're going to put in story mode, they can just take LFR out. And then have normal, and then have heroic. And there you go. And make heroic a little harder. And make normal a little harder, because they're both kind of easy. So, and then don't have mythic. You guys know we didn't used to have mythic. Or make mythic cosmetic only. Fine with me too. But you guys know that we didn't used to have that, right? Mythic needs to be a little easier. I think so too. Even as someone who's a former, Mythic Raider, I think it needs to be a little easier too. It's a little extreme. Just a little bit. And I just think having too many difficulties is part of why that happens. Like, it just doesn't... You guys know that these World First Raiders are going to crush this shit no matter what. You know? Doesn't really matter. It matters for people like us. Like, more average players, you know? Like, if they... Like, look, dude. If they make this shit easier, then... I think Blizzard's too afraid of letting people finish the game. I mean, I don't know if it's fear as much as it is awareness. Right? Keep them on the infinite treadmill. Why wouldn't you? You know? It's how you keep people playing. It's how you keep people subbed.
I just think it's important to mention that some players really loved the older raid style when heroic was considered the hardest content, and mythic is only catering to a small portion of the player base.
Extremely small. Extremely small number of people. Very small number of people ever do or clear mythic. Very low numbers.
The modern game goes.
Even at peaks, at the highest engagement, it's still really low.
You might still be thinking, no, Ed, you are wrong. I dislike World of Warcraft now because of the exhausting systems like borrowed power and the excessive grinding. And that is a valid criticism of the game, and absolutely a reason why some players have left it behind. And whilst that is Blizzard's fault for implementing those systems, I believe it is the change in our lifestyle, a lack of free time, and maybe a desire to be the best and complete every tick box possible that's contributed to this, which in turn has breeded resentment, burned players out, and left players jaded. WoW could be the sweetest chocolate ever, but have too much of anything, and it's going to make you sick. Like anything in life, you need moderation. Just to be clear, this isn't me saying that nobody enjoys WoW anymore, because of course they do. But it's important to question why that is, and why you might not feel the same way as those players anymore. Some players love WoW.
No, what people would rather do is just scream at them and invalidate them and tell them they're a fucking simp for enjoying something that person doesn't like. That's how people act nowadays. They're combative and they're defensive, and they always have to turn it into a fucking fight over nothing. What's up, Lightstyle?
WoW more than ever right now, and that will be because of the way they choose to play the game, their friends, their goals, or their life.
I hate what I just saw.
And why you might not feel the same way as those players anymore. Some players love WoW more than ever right now, and that will be because of the way they choose.
I hate what is on my fucking screen. Let me ask you a question. I know what these are, but why? It literally says in the middle of your fucking screen, negative charge on you. Yet these brain-dead morons all have a weak aura that pops up over their head, which covers the animation that shows what they have, even though their debuffs has it right there. What the fuck? It's made for Mythic so you don't run into each other? It's Star Augur Atreus all over again. Use your fucking brain! Are you kidding me? I'm a good player. I have this add-on that thinks for me. Oh my god, bro. This is why FF14 rating is objectively more difficult. Sorry, not sorry. Without add-ons, they would get a lot more equal, but this shit kills the fun of working as a team. Decimus, you know what, Jay and I think we played too much Final Fantasy. We've experienced actual repetition and practice, and we can accept wiping. It's crazy. Needing an add-on to not stand in fire. Like, what are we doing? If you have 20 people and 19 can do it without and one can't, then you swoosh, you know? That's usually how it goes. Which is part of why I think 20 people's too fucking... Don't you see the problem? Don't you realize the problem? The mechanic is intuitive and makes sense. 20 people and having it instant kill the raid does not. That's the problem. You can't have 20 people and make it so if one person fucks it up, the whole raid wipes. That's idiotic as fuck. That's why people feel forced to use these kinds of add-ons, because like you just said, one person fucks it up and the whole raid wipes. That's trash design. That's fucking trash. It's definitely a crutch with add-ons for Blizzard at this point. Totally agree, dude. That's trash.
To play the game, their friends, their goals, or their lifestyle. But not everybody does enjoy it anymore. And I think it's important to ponder why
I will always advocate that the game design should be better and that players should not be expected to pick up slack. You know? It just shouldn't come down to the player. It's fucking bullshit. It's definitely yeah. By the way, this is a general sentiment for the Hind as well. I mean, I could believe it.
Ever right now. And that will be because of the way they choose to play the game, their friends, their goals, or their lifestyle. But not everybody does enjoy it anymore. And I think it's important to ponder why that is. And so
one thing I agree... Hold on, I'm going to have to back up. One thing I agree with Asmon unequivocally on is that having to run back after you die is bad and should not be in WoW anymore. 100%. 100%. If you clear the trash up to a boss, every single boss should have a checkpoint at it. And when you fucking wipe and you guys all release, you should appear at the fucking boss again. This shit where some bosses do and some bosses don't, and if you wipe on the 6th boss of the instance, you have to run all the way back through the instance, is DOG dog shit.
And that will be because of the way they choose to play the game.
Complete intentional waste of your time. There is no excuse for that.
Their friends, their goals, or their lifestyle.
I got timed out in your server. Don't talk about OnlyFans.
But not everybody does enjoy it anymore, and I think it's important to ponder why that is, and to look at aspects of the game, certainly, but also other important aspects as to why the game was so good for you.
Fucking idiot. I already know what did it. You didn't even have to say it.
Fine. The elements of WoW
I can't do mod stuff? Good.
So fondly of still exist.
I'll fix it later.
It's easy to be blinded by this because the game is now seasonal, formulaic, and you have fallen into the rat race instead of being that explorer you once were.
He actually got fucking timed out.
Described the war within.
Why would you even tempt fate? Why would you even do that? You knew you would get timed out. You knew you would. There's no way you just typed that by accident.
You're getting with it. 5 to 6 zones, a new level cap, a new raid, etc. People will say that there's no mystique like there used to be.
Because I was a higher role? Yeah, no one's safe from it.
And that is simply down to both the game and our evolution with it. Some players are still exploring WoW and reveling in its glory. The fantasy does still exist. However, imagination and world building all dies or becomes irrelevant once you optimize it to death.
Yep.
When the goal is no longer having fun, exploring, engaging with the story, it then becomes...
All that shit's fucking beta, dude. That's all beta shit. That's all fucking beta soy boy sissy shit. Why would you play games for any of those reasons? No, we play games to be the fucking best. And to prove our fucking significance in this universe. That's why we play games, right?
Imagination and world building all dies or becomes irrelevant once you optimize it to death. When the goal is no longer having fun, exploring, engaging with the story, it then becomes, what is the fastest and most efficient way to finish this for the biggest yield of rewards? It stops being a game and starts becoming a job. You will define the game by how you choose to play it. It's important to take a deep breath sometimes and calm down. It's a video game, and it should never be made to feel like a second job. World of Warcraft can be whatever you want it to be. You are in control of how you perceive the game to be and how you want to play it. You can do anything you want. You can roleplay, you can do dungeons, you can farm achievements, you can participate in community events with your guild, and if you want to go as hard at it as possible, you have every right to do so. The modern game has absolutely had a treadmill design in recent years, and if your goals are aligned with that style of playing, then that's just how the cookie crumbles. But don't be too disheartened by this. The game is so much bigger than Endgame, but it relies on communities and players to open their eyes and see that for themselves. It's still an immersive, beautiful world, but Endgame will always be Endgame. No doubt about it, World of Warcraft has changed, but it's important to recognise that we have changed too.
What a good choice
As
of character to
these
show.
videos are made with discussion, entertainment and opinion in
Good
mind.
video.
So whether you agree or disagree with this video, I'm very interested in your thoughts and feelings and would love to get a discussion going about this, so do let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.
Let's be honest here though, these days, even if it's a lot of fun, we're going to optimize it because we are broken at this point. Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to you if it wasn't a thought that crossed my mind, you know. He's using background music from Ragnarok Online, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, good video. I enjoyed that. Ed's a smaller content creator. And I linked the video. I'll link it again here in both chats so you guys can show some love. Make sure you... Whoops. That's a V, not a link. Make sure you show some love. Drop a like on there if you are interested.